That's a terrible sound, and that is the sound of one of 6 temperature or mode actuators in the air conditioning system failing. Now, you may not hear anything when these fail. They may just leave you with hot air coming out one side or cold air out another side, and it is a very, very expensive fix at the dealer. Today, we're going to talk about how these systems work and if you can skip going to the dealer, but don't hold your breath. Hey folks, Daniel here. Over the years, I've brought you so many DIYs, hopefully saving you hundreds and maybe thousands of dollars by not having to go to the dealership and learning a little something along the way. But with that being said, we gotta understand that sometimes things just aren't DIY. Sometimes you gotta leave them to the experts. Todd, one of our V-Sport owners in the Facebook groups, he's a Cadillac technician out of Canada, and I gotta thank him. He's been a great resource to the group. He always chimes in on posts with good info, and he's always available to answer questions. Thank you, Todd, so much. You've helped us all learn a lot. Now, talking about mechanics, folks, there's just no replacement for true experience, true training, and the right equipment and knowing how to use that equipment. And that's why, you know what, sometimes a mechanic is necessary. True, there are some mechanics that don't respect your car, don't care about their work. But if you do find a mechanic that does care and respects your vehicle, hang on to them and tip them well, folks. By the way, if you're here just to see how to disassemble the glove box here and get to these actuators, you might want to just listen to me for a few minutes because it may all be pointless. But if you just got to get there, jump to this time. This is my right side temperature door actuator on my Cadillac CTS. It's located right up in here, and it helps control the temperature to the car. There are actually 6 different actuators working all together to make your AC system work flawlessly. And unfortunately, these are a common point of failure. Many people complain that one side's hot, one side's cold, or top and bottom, or you get that grinding noise like mine does. That's because these plastic gears inside here tend to strip out. Why GM doesn't just spend a little more money on metal? Otherwise, sometimes just electronically they fail and they just don't work anymore. Now, this has been a problem for decades. I remember replacing these on my Pontiac Grand Prix back in the day, and here we are again in 2023 with the same problem. These are only about $30 from GM parts warehouses plus shipping, or $50 from the dealer. Unfortunately, it's the install that's insane, folks. The books call for 9.8 hours just to put this in. It's held on by 2 screws. 2 screws. Why 9.8 hours? Well, because those screws are practically inaccessible. And you say, well, why don't you just remove something so you can get to the screws? Well, if you look at the maintenance manual, it tells you this. Replace actuator, remove screws, replace. But before you start that procedure, go to this procedure. I think it says like remove the blower motor, and that has a few steps, but it says, oh, but before you do this, you need to do this, and then it goes to other procedures, which have steps that break out into more procedures. It is mind-blowing, folks, and in the end, you've got almost 10 hours of work. The entire dashboard is removed, everything, blower, heater core, all the electronics, steering column's disconnected, the AC system is discharged, which I don't have the equipment or know-how to properly, ethically, legally do that. You gotta drain all the coolant. You even have to take off the doors, it says. That's probably because you gotta move all this crap out. Folks, it's insane. And if you decide to go to the dealer and have that done, I suggest you don't replace one, you replace all of them, because it could be the very next day that another actuator fails on you. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area of California, where everything is pretty damn expensive. My local Cadillac dealership is clearly charging about $250 an hour, so this job, $2,500, that's right. A Chevy dealership about an hour away that I trust only charges $160 an hour, so $1,600. That's a little more reasonable. It's worth the drive. Now, I really doubt anybody in the country is going to get away with less than $1,000 on labor on these, and even that is ridiculous. Unfortunately, folks, that procedure just isn't within the realm of most DIYs and not something I'm willing to do. But with complex procedures, sometimes there are shortcuts. One of our Facebook members, Mark, did a little hack job. Good job, Mark. He figured out a way to replace this himself. I'm going to try his method. I seriously don't think I'll be successful because it's probably really tedious. That's pretty much how it goes for all of these. You're probably just going to end up going to the dealer and dumping your wallet out. There is one actuator I'm absolutely sure I could swap out, and it's this one over here on the right side of the blower motor. It controls whether the air is recirculating within the car or bringing in fresh air. All you got to do is remove that radio module, maybe its bracket. Details on that in my Q upgrade video. And then you can swap out that actuator pretty easily. The rest though, plus some gears and cams that are designed in here, a lot of work. So I'm really sorry folks if you've got a failed actuator, because that's really what it's going to come down to. Also note that if you do end up ordering any of these yourself, they changed from 5-pin connectors to 7-pin connectors somewhere around 2016. I have a 2015, and I just went in here and looked and pulled the plug to check which one I had, but maybe have your parts retailer check your VIN to know exactly which one. Otherwise, I'm gonna give this a shot, but no promises, and I'll show you what I'm gonna try to do in case you wanna attempt it, and then we'll close out with whatever those results are. Here we go. All the actuators are behind the glove box area, so to access it, we need to start removing panels. First, start with this one. Just pop it out and slide it slightly down. It may be helpful to slide the seat back slightly. There's a 7mm hex screw here. We need to remove that to remove the next panel. Pretty much all the screws in the dash are 7mm hex. For additional working space, you can unbolt the seat with the T50 Torx screws. There's 2 of them in the back, and then just lift the chair up from the rear and slide it backwards. This is going to help a lot. Now, underneath the dashboard, we have this panel, and there are 3 7mm hex screws. Go ahead and remove these so we can get this panel out of the way. The one in the back is really tough. You need just the right setup of tools, and honestly, I think I got mine halfway out and I wasn't able to get it completely out, so I just leave it halfway, it's fine. On the right side, drop this panel. You have to slide it towards you slightly before it drops down, and then disconnect the cover from this little box that has all the plugs to the HVAC system. Don't worry, they're all labeled so you know exactly where they go. When you put things back together, there's a little slot here, and the box with the connectors slides on like this. All right, under where that was, there's one more 7mm hex up there, right there. Go ahead and remove that, and now this tray can come down. You need to press it forward towards the front of the car and then slide it down. Mine's only gonna go so far because I left that rear screw slightly in still. Under here is how you'd upgrade your Q system, because that is the HMI module. All right, next, pop off this panel on the side. We need to remove 2 7mm hex screws. Gently flex the plastic over the tabs and pull the trim straight out. Mine came off pretty easy because I've done it before, but it's held on by these metal clips, and it may take a little force with a straight out pull. The glove box is held in by 6 screws and 2 10mm nuts. Underneath are the 10mm nuts. These hold the lower airbag in. One here, and then one over here. When messing with the airbag, it's always a good idea to disconnect the battery. Go ahead and do that, remove the 2 nuts, and then you can either let the airbag sit here or pull the orange lock back and pull the yellow plug off. And then you'll need to reconnect the battery to open the glove box again, or use my secret method I'll tell you about in a second. There's this center screw here. I removed this permanently, but it's kind of tough to get out. Just use your tools as necessary or cut it out if you need to. Then remove the 7mm screws. Remember, when the last one comes off, that glove box is free to drop down, so hold it carefully, and it's still connected with some wires and other clips. Go ahead and remove all those clips and connectors. If you still have a CD player, you may need to disconnect and remove that. Mine just has this little drawer, and in the back, I just have the CD player plug that's looped from the factory. Now you can remove the glove box. If you ever need to pop open the glove box when it's not connected, just use an appropriate socket on this little white thing and turn it. All right, nice job. You have removed the glove box, and now we have access, sort of, to these HVAC actuators. Up here, there's 2 actuators. One here, slightly lower by these silver tubes, and then a little higher up is the other one, and that's the one that's bad on my car. It seems impossible to reach, but we're gonna start by removing the cabin air filter, and then take a look at how it's attached. One screw there, and then one by the little white arm, but you can't see them. Look inside this box here. Where this hex pattern is, you can actually see the actuator back there, and where the red arrow is pointing is approximately where the screw is that mounts it.
look up in here and you can see it goes right back in there. Using a DeWalt 90-degree attachment, I was able to get the more accessible mounting screw out. And then I used that same attachment to drill a hole in the top of the blower box where I showed you earlier. Now you want to be careful not to drill too far, because if you go through the plastic and hit these metal lines, they're aluminum, they're soft, and you don't want to bust those open. I used a step bit to open up the hole a little more, and then I used a mirror to see how it looked. You can't see it here, but I was able to see the screw, but it was a little lower than the hole. So I tried a hole in a second place down here. That ended up being too low, so I settled on this middle spot. But since the upper hole had already been started, it was hard to start the middle spot. So I just tried to make the upper hole a little bigger and then used a file to file it down to the appropriate spot. Now, I'm not really worried about this affecting the operation of my AC system. There's already holes there. I'm just making some a little bigger. Using a hand driver and carefully using that 90-degree attachment, I was able to get the screw out, and I caught it using a magnet.
The screw. Well, now I have a free actuator, but I can't get it out. Oh, it does not fit through here.
Now I know that looked straightforward, but it took a lot more trying and thinking all throughout the day to see how I could get that done, and a couple runs to the store to get just the right attachments. I was desperate to get that thing out, so I thought I'd remove more dash panels to see if there was another way to get it out.
Well, folks, I'm gonna call this a bust. You know, I definitely got somewhere, I got that thing off, but it just doesn't come out. Kind of a waste, but I definitely learned something. It doesn't always go your way, of course, and I'll probably be dropping, after taxes and more actuators, a couple $1,000s at the dealer, which really sucks. But you know what? It's part of owning a great car like the cts-v Sport. Listen, if you appreciate what I've done here or in any of my videos, you can always contribute to the channel directly by hitting that super thanks button and choose whatever amount you want. And always, when you buy something on Amazon, just go to my video, click one of those Amazon associate links. Anything you buy on Amazon, I'll get a small cut of. You won't pay a dime more. That's one great way to support the channel without even trying. All right, folks, if you haven't yet, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of future content. Thanks so much for watching the Jeff Violing channel. See you next time.